Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today, whether you're live or you are watching on our YouTube channel. We appreciate your time. We know it's valuable. Once it's spent, you can't get it back. So we'll try to keep it on point and keep it moving so everybody can enjoy their Saturdays. My name is Jason. I'm the CEO of Central Rappahannock River Habitat for Humanity. And this morning I am doing a presentation for you on our teachers and first responders program. Also, now we have included healthcare workers. So glad you're here and look forward to helping you achieve the American dream of owning a home. All right. So, who is Central Rappahannock River Habitat for Humanity? Habitat for Humanity was founded in 1976 by the Fullers. And so we're coming up on our 50-year anniversary here. So that's exciting. The local affiliate originally started in Caroline County in 1996. A couple years ago, we expanded to more counties and added even more in 2025. So now we serve 5 counties: Essex, Westmoreland, King and Queen, and Richmond County, and of course, Caroline County, where it all started with us. We're a grassroots, local-led affiliate. Our board of directors are all volunteers. They're all community experts, leaders, and all have skills to help govern and make sure that we run our programs appropriately. We also, if you were to look on our IRS and all of our paperwork there, we are still officially known as Caroline County Habitat for Humanity, but we set up a doing business as Central Rappahannock River Habitat for Humanity. We have a lot of grants and just a lot of things that we have to untangle from the old name before we make the switch. So we set it up as doing business as initially. We operate 3 programs. We operate our bread and butter program, our primary program, again, that started it all with us, is our USDA 523 Mutual Self-Help Program. And if you're on this call, you as a teacher, first responder, or healthcare worker can also use this pathway. You guys will have a few pathways. What we try to do, and we'll get more into it, we assess where you are and we give you your options. The next program we operate is a very small program. It's called the Future Builders Program. We're partnering with Caroline High School construction CTE class. They have been building a home for a local veteran. In fact, we're going to be moving it out here very soon, and we're excited about that. But they have been building it, learning skills. It'll be sold to a local veteran at cost when the home is completed and it's set on its foundation. Then we operate what you are here for today, our teachers, first responders, and now including healthcare workers. So thank you all again for joining us, and let's dig into more of it. So how does our program work? First, I want to mention you're applying for a program. You're not applying for a loan at this point. The reason we do that is there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle we have to put together. Nobody's puzzle is the same. If you were to apply for a loan, I have to give you a decision in 30 days legally. So the loan will come later, but first we need to put all the pieces together so that we can have a successful loan for you. Our primary loan we use is USDA 502 Direct Loan. However, I added this just actually this week, or equivalent loan. We're actually getting ready to launch a new loan. We're going to offer the guaranteed loan. And so we want to just kind of plant that seed with you that we may have more options for you than just the 502 loan. And some of these other loans we have found they move a little quicker. So it's exciting to have some more options for you guys. So we use special loans that will save you money. These loans are whatever product loan we use for you, you can borrow 100% of the cost of the house. Sometimes even closing costs can be covered in there. So we make sure we get a loan that'll work for you. Next thing we knew, based on your income, based on how much of a loan, we try to find other resources for you. Let's say you're $5,000 below what's needed to buy a home. We'll try to find you other grants or other things like that that might help with that. So we seek down payment assistance grants. And then also some of our programs, all of our programs really, have some sweat equity involved in them. Self-help is a pretty intense pathway where you essentially, it's like a part-time job for a year. I won't get into it too much, but you put in about 24 hours a week. You don't have to do it alone, though. You can use what's called a surrogate. That's a family or a friend that says, "Hey, I'll help you get your hours." So it's achievable as long as you have somebody to help you. But the beauty of the self-help program is all homes build wealth, but this is like supercharged wealth because you are saving so much on labor costs. Like our last homes that folks moved in, they moved in with 75 to $100,000 in equity. So some of our other pathways don't get that much equity, but just like any home, as you make your payments and the market raises the cost, you will build equity. Few things that are important to note: you cannot currently own a home. It does not have to be your first home, though, so it doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer. I will mention, though, there are some loans and grants that you have to have a certain period of time since you owned your last home. Sometimes that's 5 years, sometimes that's 10. And that's the same with some of the grants we go after as well. So if you just recently sold a home within a year or two, that might complicate matters, but we'll work with you to get through that as needed on a case-by-case basis. Also, to get down payment assistance, you must complete HUD counseling, and we assist you with that. We ourselves are in the process of becoming HUD certified counselors, so we can do it locally. But until we are certified, we have a national online partner that we refer you to, and you can get the counseling services through them. But it is critical. It's a big part of it. So you do have to commit to completing that counseling. All right. So again, our primary loan up till probably another 2-3 weeks has been the USDA 502 direct loan. This is a fantastic loan. This loan is always the loan that we use for most of our buyers, but there are, again, some circumstances where we got this new loan product we'll bring in. But I will probably start presenting that loan next month. But I just want to, again, plant the seeds. If we talk to you about another loan, it might speed up the process for you. But the 502 direct loan is really good. What's cool about it is it's not your typical 30-year loan. As long as it's a modular or a stick-built home, you can get a 33 to 38-year mortgage. That does depend on your income. Also, you can get a subsidy each month when needed. One thing to note, both the term and the subsidies are based on the goal of ensuring your payment is no more than 30% of your household income. So based off of that, if we can qualify you at 33 years, we do. If we have to do 38, it gives us a little more options for you if you're close to that limit. Same thing with the interest rate. It's all about that payment of your home payment being no more than 30%. Our loans typically require no down payment. I will add, I never say never. Let's say you're $1,000 short of what's needed. We might say, hey, can you cover $1,000? So, we would talk to you about that. But for the most part, I've never had anybody that had to put any money down. This loan has no private mortgage insurance. I'm a homeowner, and for the first 5 years of owning the home, I had to pay about $56 a month for just this insurance. And fortunately, I don't pay it anymore. But typically, when you don't own 20% or don't put that deposit down, then they put this insurance on there that will protect them in the event you foreclose. But this loan doesn't have it. So that $50 can go to home payment instead of a fee. Area loan limits, and actually I need to update this slide there. I got another slide that breaks it all down by county for you based on where you are. And also loan maximums. They're around 428,000. Some of our counties are even a little bit higher. So we have some options for you. That's why you don't always have to build your own home, because we can get a large enough loan often to have one of our partners build it for you or through our modular program. All right, so income limits for the 502 direct loan. DTI is very important. Basically, your home payment that we qualify for cannot be any more than 30% of your adjusted gross income. Also, your other debts and home payment cannot exceed 42%. So you can have a 30% for your home payment, all your other debts, car payments, credit cards. Only items reported on your credit report are used to calculate that total. But to figure out DTI, you can Google it real quick, and there's tons of free online calculators. But essentially, what you do is you take your monthly income before they take your taxes out, figure out that, look at, and if you're hourly and you have different income per month, maybe just do an average over 3 or 4 months to see what your average monthly income is. Then you take your debts, and you basically take your debts and you divide that by your monthly income, and that's going to give you a decimal point number. Move that decimal point 2 places to the left, and that will give you your percentage. So that's how we kind of calculate it. That's a real quick high level way for you to kind of see where you are. You also have to show repayment ability. What does that mean? You have to have stable income. Typically, you need to be employed for 2 years at the same employer, but there are some exceptions, right? If you, let's say you switch jobs, but it's the same field, that's understandable. You wanted to get a raise. Maybe you were working at Target. You want to go to Walmart to get more. That's understandable. What we don't want to see is gaps in employment. But if you're switching, employer, same field, we can typically work with you there. But the idea is it has to be 2 years of stable, dependable income. So that's really the big key. This is a program through the USDA, which a lot of people know. They're big in our farming communities. One thing that is interesting about this program, because so many farm workers do use it, seasonal work can count. So you might get all of your money during harvest season, or maybe you're in retail and you make most of your money the last quarter of the year. As long as we can show that annually you have it, we can typically work with you. Income does vary by county. So they break it down in the household size. If you see here, we got 1 to 4 and 5 to 9. You can see right here, right across the thing, and I just updated these numbers. So these typically go up every couple months because inflation and the cost of everything, but they went up about $5,000 from the previous time I did a presentation. So now Caroline, family of 1 to 4, you can make $86,550. Essex, $63,100. Westmoreland, $72,250. King and Queen, $72,300. And Richmond County, $68,700. And then if you're a larger family, you can see the numbers there below. I do want to mention, if you need more than a 3-bedroom, very often that can be a challenge, especially if it's an area that we have to do well in septic. The soil does have to perk and be able to handle that larger septic system. So I'm not saying we can't do it. We've definitely done it, but it is a little bit more of a challenge. A lot of times you might have to wait for us to find the property that will fit your household. So that's just something I like to mention. We did actually, for the first time last year, complete 2 4-bedrooms. So we have the model that was in Caroline, and they were on public utilities, so we didn't have to worry about well and septic. So if it's an area that has public utilities, we can build bigger homes, larger rooms, and everything like that. All right, so the next part of the piece is down payment assistance grants. We'll seek grants from DCHD, Habitat Virginia, and Virginia Housing. Grants do take time and resources and will only be sought when needed. So in other words, if we can get you enough of a loan and your payment is 30% or below of your monthly income, we're not gonna go after grants. My staff is very small. We are limited, and that takes time and all of that. So we have to basically tailor all of our programs to not only help you, but maintain our organization, that we can, handle things and afford our programs, right? So we only go after the resources that are needed. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that we get you approved for $300,000, and your particular lot is in home will cost 310,000. That's pretty close. We're going to talk to you about that. We're going to see, do you have any funds to put down? And then we'll also consider going after grants for you to help cover some of those additional costs. One thing that is important to note, the more grants and the more help you get, you're going to have more stipulations. Most of the grants that we go after, you do have to own the home 10 years before the grant is forgiven you. And these grants can vary in terms, but basically most of them, and again, I say most of them, you're forgiven 1/10 each year. And the 10th year after that, it's forgiven. And if you need to sell your home, you don't have to pay any of that back. All grant terms are discussed in good faith with final disclosures coming before closing. It's there may be a grant that I don't even know about yet that we find and we would maybe help you get. So again, we discuss all of this in good faith, but before you close and all of that, we do present you with all the disclosures, all the stuff that you would get from any buddy that if you're going to the bank or a mortgage lender. All right, another thing that's really good, and this is in particular, if you are a new teacher or new to the workforce, this program is fantastic because it's basically free money. It's no real strings other than you have to save money. If you save $1,000, you get a $10,000 down payment assistance. So it's a really good thing. But the catch is, this is why it doesn't work if you're been in the workforce or have a lot of assets, even including, let's say you drive a really nice car, right? We know some, cars are valuable. So you can't have a household net worth more than 10K. Sorry. So if you're over $10,000, this savings program won't work for you. Another thing, before we close, you do need to have your credit score up to 620 or better to do this. And then the savings account has to be open for 6 months. So you can put all the money at once and wait 6 months, or you can, divide it over however many long to make sure you can save as much. But we like to get people in there early, as long as they're committed, because once you get the money in there, you have up to 2 years to use it. And so sometimes, it may take us a little time to locate all the other parts to get in there. So as soon as you get in this program, the better. It makes it easier for you to save without having to, save as much per month. If you have longer time to add it to the account, obviously it's going to be a little easier on you. Your entire household income does count. So like if you have your mother-in-law or father who's maybe retired and living with you, unfortunately, their income is also going to be counted. So you have to keep that in mind. So it doesn't work for everybody, but for those that this one qualifies for, it is like a no-brainer, easy kind of thing to do. You must complete an approved homebuyer education course. And if you're doing our HUD stuff, you're already going to be doing that anyway. All right, sweat equity. Sweat equity is a big part of how we keep our costs down. On the self-help home, you put in about 24 hours a week, but the terms are you can be required to do up to 30. And a lot of that depends on, do we have volunteers coming out to help you? Do we have a big push we need to go through? But we typically try to cap it at 24. We haven't had to require more than that since the days of COVID. Volunteers have returned, and it's making a life a little bit easier on the construction site. Now, for the teachers and first responders program and healthcare workers, if you go this route and you don't use self-help, you're still going to have to put in some sweat equity. You're going to have to put in 12 hours a week from the time we sign your contract to the time basically you move into the home. And these hours can be gotten through a couple different ways. You can get them on the construction site. You can go help some of the folks doing the self-help program, or you can work in our office. That's a big part of it. We have receptionists. We have just groundskeeping, believe it or not. Every Friday, I typically have a groundskeeping and maintenance day. Volunteers come and we cut grass, we clean around the office. I mean, so there's a lot of things that need to be done. And all of this lowers our program costs or lowers the cost to build the home, ultimately lowers the cost for how we can deliver homes to you guys. If I got to pay somebody to clean my office, that's means that it's less money I have available for other things, for my grant writing staff to write grants for you, or counselors to counsel you, because these people get paid. So anything that we can do to reduce the cost to run our program, it ultimately saves you and saves the community. All right, so how does the process go? Attend the interest presentation. Congratulations, you just did that. Then you need to turn in a program application. The application is reviewed for eligibility. Loan and down payment assistance grants are identified and applied for. We align loan and grant closings. You work required sweat equity, and we close on the loans and the grants. And it looks easy when it's listed in 7 easy steps, but this process is going to take you anywhere from 1 to 2 years usually. And a lot of that will depend on what we have available as far as lots, but also, do you need any assistance? Do you need help getting your credit repaired? Are you doing the VITA and you have to wait 6 months so you can have that down payment? So there are, it's a process. It's not an event. We like to tell people it isn't like going to Bank of America or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac and you apply and you easily go through it. It is a process. So, and we're learning more about the process all the time. Building affordable housing, as you guys know, it's very hard to do. It's not being done a lot anywhere in the nation. We're very fortunate that we do have some of it going on in our service area. So, but you do got to understand that there are a lot of things that are just totally out of our control. I'll give you an example. I'm doing a neighborhood now. This neighborhood is almost a year behind development. There was so much rain and just all this other stuff. So I have these folks that have been waiting and waiting and waiting for us to be able to start their homes. Fortunately, we're there. We're starting them, but it was a stressful time for them. When we get you approved, you have to stay eligible. So you can't go out and get any more loans. You typically you can't switch jobs during that particular time. There are some exceptions. Again, if you're switching to the, like we've built for a couple bus drivers and they switched from one county to the other neighboring because they got more money. That was okay, right? But let's say you're working as a CNA and you decide, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go sell cars. That would not fly, unfortunately. So you have to kind of keep yourself eligible. And that's the stressful part. You guys all know how hard it is to often maintain today, especially if you're living kind of paycheck to paycheck, which in our region, almost 40% of people are. So there's a good chance that you're living paycheck to paycheck. So, again, it's a process, not an event. Funding disclosure. This is something I like to mention. Funds are subject to availability. Veterans often get priority with federal and state funds. I like to mention that. So on the application, if you're a veteran or anybody in your household is one, and they're going to be living there, please make sure you mark that. That can sometimes get you approved a little bit quicker. Also, another thing that I like to mention, we use federal funds for just about everything. So government shutdowns or short-term funding measures sometimes limit our ability to close loans or get down payment assistance grants. You're going to hear a lot of talk between now and the end of this month about a possible government shutdown. The government basically starts their fiscal year October 1st. So we'll see what happens. They're on the media. They're talking about shutdowns, but I'll be honest with you, I don't see it happening. I've been doing this a long time, and I got to tell you, the media, if you don't know this, you are the product, right? You are the product. They're selling you to their advertisers, and their advertisers are hoping to sell you stuff. So obviously they like to, it's like a car crash, right? They like to talk about the car crash rather than the good things. But this is the facts of it. This is an election year. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If there's a government shutdown and you're on the ballot, it makes you look bad. So typically, from my experience, almost 15 years doing this, election years, typically we don't have those shutdowns. Now, we may have short term funding measures, which will sometimes impact our ability. Maybe, let's say we got 10 people we need to close for, and they only have enough money to close on half of them until they go through that short term measure. So, again, that's where like the veterans and those things like that, that's where the USDA has to look at your circumstances, and they have a priority ranking list. So veterans are up there. Self-help, fortunately, is also up there. So if you're doing that pathway, we can still typically close on those loans. Then also, if you live in really, and most of y'all are teachers and first responders, and I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but most of you guys probably have, stable jobs, right? You probably at least live in a place that's got heat and running water. But all that to say, if a person comes through our door, and we see this more with our seniors and their house or their rental or wherever they're staying, like I had one family, they had a mobile home. They actually owned it, but it was just dilapidated. And we were able to, because of their conditions, get their loan as a priority. So extreme hardships and things like that, we can sometimes move it through a little bit quicker for you as well. So that's why, again, we're not trying to get all up in your business, but it's important you are straight up and honest with us about your situation, about what you're going through. There's in the program application, there are not just check the box, but there are places you can write. You can write your story. You can write what's going on. You can write the condition of your current place. And I also will add that a high cost is also considered a burden. So let's say you're paying, 60% of your income to rent your place. That could potentially help us get this moved through a little bit quicker for you as well. So, again, that there's factors that we can sometimes move people through. So, but I also mentioned that because, we're in a small area, and you're maybe in a school system or work for an area, and you might have a friend and you're both in it, and you guys might have shared that with one another, and you see this one person's loan is moving quicker than yours. That may be why. They may have circumstances that they just haven't shared with you, about maybe the place they're renting, or maybe they have an elderly parent they're helping take care of, and they have accessibility issues, or maybe they have a disabled child who has issues. We can get those loans pushed through a little bit quicker. Another thing I like to mention, we are dependent on third-party vendors from start to finish. We are dependent on you to turn in a complete application. If you don't turn it in, we can't move forward. We're dependent on what's reported on your credit report. Sometimes there's mistakes there. Sometimes there isn't. But we got to pull your credit. That third-party vendor might say, hey, this is what's on your credit. And it may be wrong. And we might have to work on that to get everything corrected. But then when, again, I'm relying on the government to be open and able to do loans. So relying on them, relying on a title company to do the title work and close with you, appraisers to appraise the property. And then if you're, building the home through self-help, you're going to be dependent on everybody in the group with you and all the volunteers to come out and help you build. So, if we don't have volunteers, it moves a little bit slower, right? And then if you're, not doing self-help and you're doing our modular or having a teacher or first responder, having a for-profit partner of ours build a house for you, we're dependent on them to do things. Their employees can get sick, equipment can break, a lot of things can happen. Weather, acts of nature. We can have a really bad winter and have snow on the ground just nonstop. That's the thing about our region. It might be You might be wearing shorts at Christmas, or you might be wearing a parka. You just never know around here. Same with January, February. Now, typically our bad months around here are January, February. But I remember when I was young and I think ninth grade, I think we had snow on the ground from January almost to March. I remember one year there, I was off school for like 2 weeks. It was New Year's for like 2 weeks. It was great as a kid, but now as I was building homes as a builder now, that wouldn't be good for me because we wouldn't, if you can't get there, then you can't work, So there's so many things we're dependent on, hurricane season as well. So just know it again, it's a process. It's not an event. And that's the thing that we really try to instill upon everybody is you gotta understand that if it was easy, everybody around would be doing it and you wouldn't have to come here, right? But it's not easy. I just got to be straight up with you on that. It's not easy. We work diligently. We have to get the best prices for materials for you. We lobby. That's a big part. A couple of years ago, the loan program we use, it used to be up to $1.25 billion that we had access to lend in our nation. They cut it all the way down to 850 million. So obviously that's a lot less loans. So it's hard. The money doesn't last long. There's certain windows you have to do it by, and we're competing against 49 other states and however many other territories there are that are in the U.S. That are part of the United States. May not be states, but there are territories. These programs, they're happening in Puerto Rico and Guam and the various islands we have all around the nation that are still considered our territory. They may not be states, but they still have access to these programs as well because they are U.S. citizens as well. So it's a competitive thing. And then when you're talking about grants, state down payment grants, we're competing against, and I hate to use the word competing, right? Because it's not like a game, right? But all the habitats in the state, we all use the same down payment programs, not just habitats, but all of the housing developers in the state use the same programs. So the money is only available while it's there. So again, it's, there's so many factors that go into this that I just like to set the table so that there is proper expectations on everybody's part. But I tell you this, for those that can stick it out, that have this as a goal, it's like any goal. You just have to set it, learn what you need to do to get there, whether it takes 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months. If you have that goal mentality, you can do it. I promise you that. All right. Anybody got any questions? I will look at the chat. You can just type them in, or you can come on and ask if you want to. Okay, somebody asked, what if I have my child lives with me and they work? That's a good question, right? If your kid is living with you and they work, all household income is part of it. However, if they are a full-time college student, we don't have to count their money. We don't have to count that. So that's something, if they're in school. But let's say that you're making, 40,000 and you got a son that's maybe making 30,000, that will impact your subsidy and length of term that you might be able to get. So just want to mention that. But we work with you on that. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So to get a program application, oops, see a little misprint down there. You just need to email admin@habitatofcaroline.org. Again, admin@habitatofcaroline.org, or call our business office. You can call during business hours, which is pretty much 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But we have an answering machine. So if you want to leave a message, just make sure you're clear in your address and everything like that. And I would actually recommend, leaving a message and saying, give us a call back. That way, I found that oftentimes if you're calling from a cell phone or calling for this or that, sometimes the message is not the clearest. And if you're giving us a lot of numbers and detail in the message, we can't always make it out. So call us, but let's try to talk live if we can. Something else I want to mention, you do need to give a code that shows that you attended this entire presentation. And what we do there is the code, you have to, again, when you call or you email, you have to include it in the request. The code is JT96, JT96, again, JT96. So when you apply, you got to give my staff that code so that I know that you've listened to this entire presentation. So again, JT96. That's very important. Without that, you're not going to get an application sent to you. So we want to make sure you got that. Another thing, please do not turn in the original documents to us. Make copies. That's really important. We don't want your original documents. I've actually had people call me a year later saying, hey, I gave you my original tax return. Can I get it back? And that's hard. We go digital. We shred stuff and it goes in encrypted files and it's kept digitally after a certain period of time. So don't send us your original documents. It's easy to get copies. You can go to the library to get it done. You can go to Kinko's, office supply stores. You can even come in during business hours and we'll be happy to help you with the copies, but there will be a copy fee. Just because ink and all of that stuff is pretty expensive, and you will find out this application package is pretty big. We give you a checklist in the application, but I'll run through a few things you're going to have to turn in. 2 years of tax returns, 2 years of W-9s, 2 months of bank statements, 1 month of pay stubs. Depending on your credit score and other factors, we may have to turn in lease agreements. We may have to turn in letters of explanation, lots of stuff. So these packets oftentimes are, maybe 50 to 100 pages, depending on what you got going on. To give you kind of an example, right? Let's say your bank statement is 3 pages long, and all the information is found on the first page. And that page says 1 of 3, right? First page, second page, 2 of 3. Third page, 3 of 3. It don't matter if the last page just has a logo on it. We have to turn in every single page because they might say, oh, there's a page missing. What's going on here? Is there something there that they're trying to hide from us? So again, these packets are very, very thick, really thick. And then there is a program application fee, and this is because we do have to pull your credit. So if you're a one-person applicant, so there's only one of you going on the loan, it's $50. And if you're 2 people, it's 100. And that allows us to pull your credit so we can see where you are and actually give you the help that's needed to get you to where you need to go. So again, thank you guys so much. Appreciate your time. This will be up on our YouTube channel if you want to watch it again. The code that I gave you is only good until next month's presentation. So if you don't turn it in before next month's presentation, you may, we have a little grace period, but if it's a lot after that, it can change because things change. Income limits change. They can go up or down. Lots of things can happen. So we want to make sure you have the freshest information. So essentially, you got about 30 days to get this application to us. If you need longer, call and talk to Debbie. She's my office person. She'll, tell her what's going on. Let her know if you're having problems gathering documents. And we're reasonable people. If you're having to request documents and they're taking longer for you to get, we're okay with that. If we know that, if there's any changes to our program or interest rates or fees or anything like that before you get everything together, then we can let you know about those changes so you're making the best informed decision. So thank you guys all again. If you do want to learn more about self-help, that program is open to anybody. It's income-based only, not just employment. And we will be doing that presentation here in just a little bit. In fact, it will start at, let me see here. Look at my calendar. I think it starts at 10, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yes, 10 a.m. So you got about 45 minutes till the self-help presentation. And I tell you, I really encourage you, watch that presentation. It is a very specific program, but it will supercharge your wealth. And that's one of the main reasons I'm in this. This is home ownership is going to change your financial picture like you wouldn't believe. Something that I find interesting that, and I'm going off script now, so if you don't want to listen to this, you don't have to. You got everything you need. But the American renter has a net wealth of $5,600, right? Meaning if you cashed out all your poker chips, that's what you'd have. The average American homeowner has a net wealth of over $300,000. Home ownership, I don't care what the people selling stocks and bonds tell you, home ownership is how most Americans are going to get their wealth. Because we all got to live somewhere, and we may not have a lot of money to invest in the stock market, but we can use our money that was renting to own to acquire wealth. So it's a no-brainer. There are factors that everybody needs to consider, renting versus owning. If you're only going to be somewhere a year, probably not a good idea to rent. But if you're going to be somewhere 5 years or more, owning is typically going to be better for you. I know it's sad now, but the average age of a first-time home buyer is 38 years. I bought my first home when I was 23 years old. It was a townhome, great starter home for me. I made $100,000 when I sold it and upgraded to my next house. And so you can kind of use these programs to get yourself in, and you might eventually want a bigger house. Maybe you want your family to grow. You can use this house to build equity, sell it, use that down payment, and upgrade your house. So it's not a static thing. You can stay in it for your life if you want to, or you can use it to build more wealth. To go to a more desirable area. Maybe you want to get closer to work. And so it's really a win-win for most people. So I'm very passionate about it. I think that it has the potential to change your family's lives. If studies show if you own your home, your kids are 19% more likely to go off to college and be successful, have less behavioral issues. And that's because the stability that it does provide. And also oftentimes too, with our programs, your kids are typically going to have their own room. We're not going to overcrowd a house. So they can study and they got a place to study and do homework without maybe younger siblings distracting them, which is really, really important for young people. So anyway, I could talk about the benefits of homeownership all day long. My team, us all believe in it. So I won't keep you any longer. But if you ever want to talk about it, stop on by our office. We have walk-in hours 9 to 3 Monday through Friday. Staff is there 9 to 5 typically, but we got to wrap up stuff, close out the day and everything. But we do also offer appointments. So if you're somebody who's only available on Saturdays, we can schedule to work with you. If you're only available in the evenings, we can schedule to work with you. We just need to know. So it's all about having that communication. So thank you guys all very much. Appreciate everything that you do for our community as teachers, first responders, and healthcare workers. And I really hope that we can help you achieve your dream and goal of owning a home. Have a great day, and feel free to email us and ask for that application. Again, the code is JT96. Have a great day.